All right, I want to talk about. I had a question today, and it was about FHA loans, and it was, "Hey Jared, what are the cons of doing an FHA loan?" And I thought it was a great question. And my first question was, in my mind, I'm like, well, why are you just out of the blue asking me specifically about FHA loans? And it was because that they were actually looking into a manufactured home, and for some reason or another they thought that they'd be limited to doing an FHA loan types. And so um, you know that was fine, and that still might have been the best option for them. But so it got me to thinking about it, because in the mortgage business there's lots of myths out there, and you hear us talking about mortgage myth busting every now and then. And one of those myths is that FHA loans are bad, or FHA loans, you only do it if you have to. And I get I don't want to say I get a kick out of it, but when I hear mortgage loan originators say something like that, I really do get a kick out of it, because they don't know what they're talking about. An FHA loan is absolutely a great loan product. The first loan for the first house I ever bought was an FHA loan. It was gorgeous house, great shape. Um, Without that vehicle or that tool, I might not have been able to buy when I did, and I was able to buy that house. What turned out to be right before the home prices really went up. So it was a great vehicle to help me get into my my second house. And so um, why do people get an FHA loan over any other loan type? What I like to tell people is FHA loans are a lot more forgiving for a lot of reasons that like a standard conventional loan or even like a USDA loan is not forgiving on. Um, Credit score, you're not going to see as big of a difference in the pricing or the rate that you get on the loan based off your credit score. So, somebody with a 640 credit score is going to have likely the same payment as somebody doing an FHA loan with a 700 credit score. That's not the case for conventional loans. On a conventional loan, not only a lot of the time is your interest rate going to be much higher for having a lower credit score, but your mortgage insurance, if you have less than 20% down, also is affected based off your credit score on a conventional loan. On an FHA loan, it's the same, no matter what your credit score is for your mortgage insurance. And there's only very slight difference in your pricing depending on the lender. And so I like to say that FHA loans are very forgiving. The other thing that's great about FHA loans is, where they're also forgiving, I should say, is when you've had things happen on your credit that are adverse type events, bankruptcy, foreclosure, things like that. The waiting period from the time those events have happened to when you're able to buy a house on an FHA loan is shorter than it is on other loan types, being conventional loans, etc. So a lot more forgiving when it comes to that as well. Another area in which FHA loans can be a little more forgiving than conventional loans as well is in the risk thresholds. Your debt to income ratio, for example, you can get approvals with a debt to income ratio, a back end ratio up to about 56%, meaning 56% of your income is some sort of debt, including that proposed housing payment. Um, so so when I look at all those things, it's not that rare that I am factoring in the idea of someone doing an FHA loan. In fact, I've done more FHA loans in the last year than I've done in a long time. Now, We're in what we call, it's March of 2024. We're in what we call a higher interest rate environment. A lot of people are getting rates around the 7% range. Now, what you'll find is when rates are higher, you're going to see a bigger spread in rate pricing between an FHA loan and a conventional loan. So, whereas in a low rate environment, we often do everything we can to disqualify someone from needing an FHA loan to get them into a conventional loan because the rates aren't that much different. And right now, what you'll find is that you can save some money doing a FHA loan sometimes where otherwise we wouldn't be looking at that option. A higher limit purchase price FHA loan. FHA loans are going to have a little lower loan limit than a standard conventional loan, but um, once you get up towards what that loan limit is, and you can get a lower interest rate. Let's say it's sometimes as much as like 0.5% lower. You'll see in rate. You'll find that your borrower may have a much lower payment by going that route versus a conventional loan, and that's especially depending on their credit score a little bit. Now, the downfall though to the FHA loan is it's really there's one major downfall that I tell people is that there is a funding fee. So, a funding fee is a charge that is given to you by FHA for doing the loan for you. It's an upfront fee. Now, you do not pay this fee out of your pocket. It is a dollar amount that they tack on to the balance of your loan. So it's not, you don't have to come up with this out of your pocket, but when you go to refinance or where you go to sell, that's getting paid off as part of that. On a refinance, they'll carry that balance into your next loan, but it can make it a little harder to be in a position. Or if you're trying to sell quickly, there's now a fee that makes it so um, you're not profiting as much money. Now, my rule of thumb though is if the FHA loan is your way to get into the house, don't let that funding fee be the one thing that gets in your way because you're still getting into a house. Like, if that's your option to use it. There's no shame. Like, there's no shame in having an FHA loan. I mean, the first one I got was, I think, 3.25% when people were getting conventional loans at the time closer to 4%. So, very, very strong payment when it came to that. Um, and when it comes to that too, when it does come time to refinance, if you're in an FHA loan, you can actually do what's called an FHA streamline refinance, which is kind of a limited documentation type refinance. It might make that a little bit easier for you. Um, some cons though, like yeah, the funding fee, it's a nuisance, but it's there. I mean, VA loans have funding fees too. You don't hear people talking about that a whole lot. In fact, the VA loan ones are usually more. But uh, another hard part about it is they are, and I don't want to call this a con, but uh, on the FHA loan, they are a little more strict on the condition of the property that you're buying. So what that means is they're looking at things, a lot of health and safety things that you might not really look at that hard on a conventional loan, like an appraiser would do. Something like flaking paint on the side of the house, common on like window seals and whatnot. But they're also looking at it on like the outbuildings too. So sometimes people are buying something that maybe the house is in good shape, but there's a little detached garage or a shed on the back corner of the property and it's falling down. Well, that's going to be an issue on an FHA loan. That's going to have to need to be cured. If it's flaking paint, it needs to be painted. If it's or a shed that's falling down, someone could be in there and the roof could fall on, whatever, that might need to be removed or repaired before closing. So there's some cosmetic things and some different wiring things that they're going to look at on the FHA loan that they don't. So they're making sure you're getting into a safe and sound house. That also would be a little easier for them to sell if they needed to. So that's kind of, I guess some people call that a con. I don't. I mean, sellers sometimes, if they're looking at two offers, one's FHA, one's conventional, same price, everything, a seller might lean towards that conventional offer more. Now, a great real estate agent is going to really, do what they can to um, position you in a stronger way so that your FHA offer isn't, looked down upon by, the seller of the house you're buying. Like, if you look at the house and it's in, just extraordinary shape, there's no reason to be concerned about, the something in the appraisal and the FHA appraisal causing a problem throughout the process. So when all things are considered, what really is or isn't the better deal. So anyhow, there's so much more I can talk about on this subject. I like to keep this video to about 10 minutes. So here we are. If you've got questions about FHA loans or whether or not you should be considering an FHA loan on your next purchase, give me a shout. Be sure to subscribe wherever the subscribe button is for more content like this. Any questions, just reach out. Everyone have a fantastic day.